Hello, Pisces, and welcome to your reading. This is Bright Soul Collective Tarot. My name is Laura, and this will be your mid-month check-in for March 2023 into the beginning of April. This reading will be for Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Rising, so by all means, if you know your three major placements, you can check any and all of the readings that apply, as each one may resonate for you differently. And as always, before we get started, please do keep in mind these readings are general in nature. They're meant to apply to a more broad collective of individuals, and so that means that not necessarily all of the details that come through will be for you specifically. I highly recommend you take anything and everything that does resonate for you, however that makes sense to your specific situation, and you can simply leave the rest. Definitely use your discretion in terms of what works for you. So Pisces, happy March. I hope you guys are doing well. Happy Pisces season. Happy birthday, whether you've already celebrated or your birthday is yet to come. I hope you have a beautiful time and you really take some time to celebrate and enjoy the energy of your season. I've got your oracle card here, and we're gonna get a few tarot cards, finish off with a final oracle message and some affirmations. So before we jump into your cards, I will quickly share with you the channeled impression that I got as I was preparing for your reading. And it was funny. At first, I wasn't really picking up on much of anything. And then the first thing that popped into my head was stay hydrated. So, I don't know. I feel like that's a good life rule for all of us in general. So I don't know if you're someone who may have a particularly hard time staying hydrated or drinking water, but this is your reminder. So maybe just be mindful to ensure you're getting enough hydration. And that'll make a huge difference on all levels for you in terms of your health, well-being. Yeah, so that's your little message there. But the thing that I sensed overall was a difficulty being present, or being in the moment, really kind of being able to pay attention to and soak in all the aspects of what is going on around you. So you may feel that you're having a hard time focusing. You might be feeling a little bit distracted. Yeah, but there is definitely kind of like this struggle, and you may even catch yourself in the moment saying like, I should be here enjoying this or appreciating this, or, listening to this person or absorbing this information. And I'm like off in my head. And so, yeah, so I don't know if this is something that you might currently be focusing on or working through, but I did pick up on that. And the other thing that really kind of stood out to me was that you may be feeling as though you're stuck in some kind of repetitive cycle. And this could be different for all of you. It could be on a small scale or on a large scale. But for example, like making the same mistake over and over again. Again, it could be small scale or large scale. Or forgetting the same detail, or to do the same thing over and over again. And that could also go hand in hand with just having difficulty like being in the moment and really kind of soaking in like what you're doing right now. So all of that very much could relate to having a wandering mind, feeling a little bit daydreamy. So yeah, I don't know if that resonates for you at all. It might be a good time to just, take some time to yourself, to sit in silence with yourself, try to disconnect from all of the external stimuli in the world, and just check in with yourself and see, because generally, if we take some time to check in and to get grounded, to do things that are calming and that kind of get us out of our mind and into our body, sometimes that can help kind of recenter us and give us that perspective that we're looking for. So yeah, like the general sense that I got is that this might all be coming from just like this sense of like a lack of focus, or maybe there's just too many things going on at once, and it's a need to kind of like hone in on one thing at a time. Um, but yeah, especially if it's like you've learned a lesson, but you're still kind of making the same mistake repeatedly, or you find yourself stuck in the same kind of repetitive cycles that become frustrating. It could just be a matter of consciously focusing on that. And if you're distracted, you may not realize that you're subconsciously making decisions that kind of perpetuate that. So that's all I'll say on that on that front. But yeah, staying hydrated and getting grounded is something that may be helpful to you. And the other thing that really quickly popped up for me was feeling a little bit triggered by it could be money, material possessions, abundance in general. This could be related to career, status, a sense of material stability and abundance. But yeah, it was kind of like this feeling of being triggered, like maybe a little bit upset, maybe a little bit jealous, maybe a little bit protective. And I kind of got the sense that there might be something that's kind of personal to you that you're working on. And it could be related to your money, it could be related to your career. But I did get a sense of like, whatever this feeling about abundance or a lack thereof, that it's kind of like it may be personal to you. It may be tied to something personal, a personal project, a passion project. It could be different for every single one of you, but yeah, you might be feeling a little bit unsure, maybe even a little bit defensive about just kind of your material abundance right now. Maybe that's something you're currently working on. So let's get into your oracle for this month, or this mid-month. So the card that came up for you was Treasure Island. And this is actually a really, really good card to have come up because, funny enough, it is all about prosperity. It's kind of like seeing your ships come in and being able to enjoy the fruits of your labor, whether it's something that you have been working on for a really long time, or it's something that you really just kind of have, you dove into head first more recently. This is all about seeing a return on the energy that you've put into something. So this is connected to the entire month as a whole. I know we're already halfway through, so we really are going to be focusing on where this energy is going to be going for the remainder of the month into April. But yeah, so this could be something that's already in motion. But this is essentially a really prosperous time. So you may be feeling that already. It could be related to your career, maybe a promotion or a raise. Maybe you've got your eye on kind of moving up the ladder. This could also pertain to any kind of windfall. It's kind of like there's no limitation in terms of how abundance might show up and in what form. It doesn't have to be money or material, right? It can be time, energy, love, friendships, support, anything of that nature. But yeah, this is basically saying, especially if you are particularly focused on career, focused on your money, this is a really good time to make moves. This is a really good time to connect with abundant and prosperous opportunities. If you're in an entrepreneurial kind of energy, this is a really, really good time to kind of capitalize on that, because you may be finding that your motivation, your clarity, your inspiration is at a high. This bodes well for creativity and passion as well. So yeah, this is basically kind of like a green light when it comes to being open to opportunities to connect with abundance and being willing to receive abundance, right? So this could be, maybe something you've been working on for a long time that hasn't materialized, right? Hasn't manifested. This could be, finally that's coming in. And so it could be totally unexpected as a result. Or it could be a really unexpected opportunity to move more in a direction of your liking when it comes to that kind of like financial stability, right? So it could be an opportunity to move into a line of work that feels more aligned, or take that first step, right? So this is basically saying like a lot of this, because it has a lot to do with prosperity, and we've got treasure here in general. If you are finding yourself in a position where you're feeling particularly blessed, it's important to be willing to receive that and to be grateful for it, and also to ensure that you're sharing that with others, because those kinds of beautiful things, when shared, multiply, right? And that just kind of brings more in as a result. And this also asks us to kind of take a look at our relationship to abundance and prosperity, and to determine, do we look at our experiences and the world from a position of lack or from abundance? And so if what you're looking for is to, bring in a little bit more money, maybe have a more stable career, move up the ladder, maybe it's in terms of acquiring like a new house or a car or whatever the case may be. It's examining your relationship to and your beliefs around abundance, because if we have a lack mindset in that we believe there isn't enough or there aren't enough opportunities, or we don't have what we need, if we're focused on that energy a lot, we can miss the opportunities to connect with more, right? Because we're busy telling ourselves that it's not possible. So of course we're not looking for evidence that it is possible. And so if you have a complicated relationship with abundance, this is a really good time to kind of identify any triggers, anything that might be low vibrational, keeping you stuck in a place where you feel, maybe less than worthy, or you feel like there aren't a lot of opportunities. Because if you can kind of change your mind about that and approach it with a little bit of openness and curiosity, you might very well find that there's an unexpected opportunity there. And really, in terms of if there's something that you've been wanting to pursue that kind of connects to this, this card specifically says, like, you don't have anything to lose other than your relationship to this lack, which will ultimately hold you back and keep you feeling limited. So yeah, so I think that's really positive. That's really beneficial. It also bodes well for relationships, friendships. It's a time of love and happiness. So yeah, Pisces, that's really wonderful for you, especially during your birthday season, because it looks like there's all sorts of good stuff available for you. And it's just kind of a matter of maybe taking the time to recognize it or allowing yourself the opportunity to connect with it. And the other thing that I wanted to say is that turtles may be significant to you in some way. Maybe the turtle might show up for you this month. So we'll get you some tarot. Let's see. Okay, so your first card is showing up as the Two of Wands. Second card is showing up as the Four of Pentacles. So that does go hand in hand with this idea of maybe being a little triggered when it comes to material goods, finances, all that stuff. And your third card is showing up as the Ten of Swords. And at the bottom of the deck, we have the Eight of Swords. So this is really interesting, right? Because this month could be really pivotal in you kind of balancing out your energies, because we've got fire, right, with the wands, we've got earth with the pentacles, and we've got air with the swords. So that's kind of about our passion, taking action, living an inspired life. The earth energy is about, the practical steps that we take, putting in the work, kind of building that foundation in the material world. And then the swords, the air, is more about our mental state, our thoughts, our beliefs, our perceptions, the way that we communicate, and how that kind of impacts the direction that we move in. So I like to see, honestly, this blend of energy, because it tells me that you're not necessarily stuck in one place, but I think it's more about trying to make your energy work for you on all levels and bringing it all in together. And this is going to be a really good month for you to do that, because everything is kind of coming up Millhouse, right? So with the Eight of Swords showing up at the bottom of the deck, this would be kind of the past or underlying energy that informs this. And this is telling me that you could be either you recently went through, or you're currently going through almost like a shift in terms of releasing limiting beliefs, right? Because this is about how we can't necessarily trust our mind all of the time, right? Because sometimes what happens is we can get into a place of fear or doubt, and our mind gets away from us and kind of paints a picture that is limiting and scary and makes us feel as though we're stuck, even though that's not necessarily the case, right? So you can see, like, in the mirror image, she's bound and she can't see. So it's like, how is she going to move forward? How is she going to take in any information that will help her make a decision, right? So she thinks she's stuck, but in reality, she's not. She's got her eyes closed, right? And so it's kind of like, a lot of the time, these fears, these limitations, those things that make us feel helpless, stuck, and perhaps victimized, often they can be self-imposed. And when I say self-imposed, I don't mean like you're actively doing something wrong, because a lot of it has to do with subconscious programming. It can be things that were instilled in us when we were young, in terms of like being afraid, right? Being afraid that we won't connect with opportunities, being afraid of failure. It's like all of those kinds of things that are disempowering that might make us feel as though we can't move forward, right? And so this is the Eight of Swords coming up, tells me that either this is playing a major role in where you are right now, or it's something that you've become aware of, or you've started to become aware of, the power of your mind and the power of these kind of maybe challenging thoughts or limiting beliefs, because all that is an illusion, right? So we're coming to the understanding that it is possible to change your mind, and that you don't have to let these thoughts kind of keep you in one place, right? But there is a need to work through that energy. And so perhaps this recognition is what has brought you to this point, because what you need to know right now is showing up as the Two of Wands. And that is all about having an important decision to make. And one of the biggest parts of this decision is that, I won't say it has to be, but the Two of Wands lends itself to being a very heart-based decision. Something that's connected to your inspiration, something that excites you, something that lights you up, right? Because it makes me think of, there's one yoga teacher that I was in touch with a number of years ago, and we were doing we're working as a group to like kind of plan retreats. And she said that whenever she had a question, or she was unsure, or she had a decision to make, she would kind of sit in silence and meditate. And she would ask herself the question, or she would think about the topic, and she would wait to see how she felt, like on a visceral level, right? Like if it was a yes or a no. And I think we can all identify with that we've been in positions where someone asks you something and immediately you just feel like no. And then sometimes we will talk ourselves out of it, or think our way out of it, or, feel the need to say yes when it should be a no. And like conversely, when we come in contact with information that feels exciting or feels like a really great opportunity, we can feel that energetically, right? So if there's a decision that needs to be made, particularly if it pertains to like, a path that you may be moving on, the Two of Wands, it can be like kind of making a decision to stay where you've been, in a place that's familiar, or following a trail, like following in someone else's footsteps, someone else who's kind of led the way, or just kind of stepping out on your own and blazing your own trail. So that is and that could pertain to anything. That could be like in love, that could be in your family life, that could be at work. So this is like kind of the time for you to check in with yourself and decide what is best for you right now. What do you feel called to do? What do you feel called to move toward, right? Because we see right now she's kind of in the comfort of her own home, but she doesn't necessarily look to be really enthused with that comfort, right? It's comfortable, but she's kind of looking out of the window longingly. So there's a sense that there's more out there, and perhaps you feel that as well. Perhaps there's more that you'd like to connect with. And so this is basically affirming that the decision is yours. And sometimes we can be tempted to stay in a comfort zone simply because it is easy and comfortable, when really our heart is longing for more. And it can be scary to make the decision to step out into the unknown or onto a different path, particularly if it's something that excites us but might be really meaningful to us on a personal level. It can be tough to make that investment and take that kind of chance on ourselves, right? So that's something to keep in mind. But also sometimes the best thing to do is to stay, right? And you will know You'll know what you're being called to do and what's best for you, but this is asking you to take some time to check in with yourself and see, is following the beaten track, like the beaten path, or staying in the comfort zone, what is going to be most beneficial to you right now? Or is it going to be stepping out into something new? And you know what? Sometimes we're not ready to step out into something new, and we need a little bit more time to kind of work through things to be in the right position. So that's only something that you can know. But yeah, with Treasure Island here, it is saying that kind of whatever you might have on your mind in terms of that thing that's inspiring you, that you might feel excited to work toward, that this is kind of a favorable time to step into that energy and perhaps connect with opportunities. So perhaps you taking that first step might get the ball rolling in unexpected ways. So what's showing up here for your challenge this month is the Four of Pentacles. And the Four of Pentacles is often known as the miser card, right? So there can be a sense of being really, really conservative with money, worried about money. And there can sometimes be a real fixation on financial stability, material stability. So this can go either way. This can be about, just being really conscious and smart about your savings. Perhaps this isn't a time where you're feeling particularly abundant, so you have to be, kind of on your toes when it comes to budgeting and maybe putting off larger purchases. Which is fine, right? Because like that responsibility when it comes to finances is important too, because we have seasons where things move, and then we have seasons where things slow down. So you might be in a season right now where things are not feeling particularly abundant, but it doesn't mean that it won't move forward. So the challenge with this Four of Pentacles energy, especially because it's showing up in the challenge position for you, is that sometimes we can become so fixated on what we have and feeling as though we don't have enough, right? A lot of the time, our desire to connect with more or to work hard to get more can be inspired by a sense of lack and not having enough. And the unfortunate thing is, if we're spending our time feeling as though we don't have enough, believing we don't have enough, and thinking we need to do more to get more, the action that we take to try and connect with more is actually informed and inspired by lack and a sense of there not being enough, right? And so sometimes subconsciously we can block ourselves because we feel we don't have enough and we want more, but we're kind of telling ourselves that we don't have enough, we're kind of focusing on the lack of opportunity rather than the abundance, right? And so this is what I was talking about in terms of your relationship to abundance. So that can be money, material goods, time, any of your resources, but this has a lot to do with your stability. So it's like the Four Pentacles is kind of like the four corners of a foundation of a house, right? So it's kind of like that really stable, strong foundation and having things in place to build upon. And if you feel as though you don't have enough, sometimes you can be really, really reluctant, not only to spend, but also to take action, right? Because the thing is, the more tightly you cling to what you do have because you feel as though, you already don't have enough and you're afraid that you can't get by on less, sometimes that can cause us to cling so tightly to what we do have that we actually shut ourselves off from more, even though that's what we're really truly longing for. And so the thing is it's like, it's important to recognize what you need and to take care of yourself and to be responsible with your money, but also to, you have to have an open hand to receive, right? So it's kind of like trusting the flow of abundance in your life, and being open to opportunities to make more money. So just because, you might be able to kind of be somewhat comfortable or feel somewhat solid right now, it's kind of like, you wouldn't stop building your house after laying just the foundation and say, well, this is stable, so we're done, right? This is saying like there is more out there for you. There are more steps to be taken. There's more work to be done. There's more abundance to come in. And if you're really concerned about losing, that makes it hard to take that next step to get more. So that could very well be on your mind right now, and maybe that's why I felt particularly triggered when I actually saw the Five of Pentacles specifically, which is kind of the card of being like poor and out in the cold kind of thing. So yeah, that's something that you may want to examine, because some of these fears and limiting beliefs may be deeply rooted in, money and finance and these material goods. And then your advice for working through this challenging energy is actually really beautiful, and it aligns really nicely. It's showing up as the 10 of Swords. And the 10 of Swords is really a beautiful card of release, right? And so the 8 of Swords, we're kind of realizing that a lot of the things that we feel like are keeping us stuck, or keeping us in a place of fear or lack, or making us feel as though we don't have the information we need to make the decision that we need or want to make, a lot of the time that's just, that's just in our head, right? It's just an illusion. There's an illusion of being stuck. And when we can recognize that and start to become conscious of the thoughts that are limiting us and holding us back, then we can decide to make a different decision and to change the narrative and to say, well, instead of believing that I'm never going to get a good job, or I'm never going to make money, or I'm never going to buy a house, what if I decide that I can? That is something that's open to me. And because I've decided that it's possible, I can now start determining what steps I'm going to take to move in that direction, right? So it's like you kind of have to allow yourself to connect with the feeling of abundance and the opportunity for abundance in order for you to move in that direction. And so these kind of limiting beliefs that may be related to this 8 of Swords energy, it's kind of like working through that. And this month looks like it's a really powerful time to kind of work through the remainder of that and to let those things that are not serving you go. So those thoughts, perceptions, beliefs about yourself, others, work, money, the world, life in general, letting those go and recognizing that almost like these birds, right? Sometimes when those limiting or fearful thoughts come in, they just, it's best just to let them float by or fly by, right? You don't have to hold on to them. You don't have to, take ownership of them. Sometimes it's okay to just recognize like, hey, this is a thought that is coming up because, maybe my parents had a difficult relationship with money and I was, that was ingrained in me, right? So it's kind of, the 10 of Swords is recognizing that you may have been through a lot and you may have had a lot of challenges to overcome, and maybe a lot of, particularly negative thoughts, limiting thoughts. This can also be like, a lack of confidence, being hard on yourself. And this 10 of Swords is about kind of like coming out the other side. The traditional depiction of the 10 of Swords is quite often a person like laying on their stomach with 10 swords in their back. So it kind of illustrates the challenge, right? That overriding feeling of, it's kind of like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? So it's like you might feel as though like you're on the verge of the end, but you're going to come back from that point, right? And it could be a sense of rock bottom, right? And maybe feeling as though there's been a lot to overcome and you've really been struggling, you've been pushed to the edge, but it's being pushed to the edge that has helped you to, or will help you to see, with the limited energy that you've got left and this need to kind of rebuild, what is it that you don't need to carry with you? What is it that has not been serving you? Are there beliefs that you have about yourself or about the world that keep you feeling small, that keep you in a space where you feel fearful or unworthy, or you feel like, there are no opportunities for success, right? So this is kind of recognizing that by working through these kinds of challenging energies, and especially the challenging thoughts and feelings that might come up related to this decision to kind of, stay in a familiar place or venture out on your own, and to allow yourself to connect with more abundance rather than clinging tightly to what you have right now. Anything that kind of triggers you or challenges you in these particular energies is probably going to have a lot to do with the perceptions that you're being guided to release. And the beautiful thing with this Ten of Swords is you're at the end of the cycle. So this is kind of the last step in recognizing and allowing these things to leave so that you have room to connect with more, and so that your energy is being sent in a direction that is going to be more empowering for you, right? Because it's kind of like looking out onto the horizon, letting go of these things that held you back in the past, and recognizing that they don't need to come forward with you. And you may not know what's ahead, right? We don't see. She's just looking out onto the horizon. So that can be, scary and exhilarating at the same time. It can be really challenging to be in an unfamiliar place, but it's very open-ended. And it can be really exciting to say, like, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen or where I'm going to go or how things are going to unfold, but I have the freedom to find out without being limited by all these things that were holding me back before, right? And so that's really beautiful energy. I love that for you guys. Okay. So I'm actually, before I get your final oracle card, I'm going to take a moment to share with you the couple of channeled messages that I connected with before I got any cards out for you. So the first thing that came through was forgetfulness. And that did kind of go hand in hand with that sense of like maybe feeling a little bit of a struggle to stay in the present moment. So if you find that you're being particularly forgetful or your memory is giving you trouble, it could just be that you are kind of distracted, right? So it's like, physically we can be in one space and mentally we can be in another, and then spiritually we can be in another place, right? So sometimes we can be outside of ourselves even if we're here physically. So it could be just a matter of grounding yourself, doing a grounding exercise. If you like do a quick Google search or on YouTube, I'm sure you can find some guided grounding meditations or exercises, sometimes even just getting out into nature, sometimes just being in your own energy in a space where there's limited distraction, sitting with yourself. But I did get the sense that kind of like so you might be, in one place in your mind, and that could be the reason that you're forgetting, if that's been an issue for you, because you might just be kind of doing things physically on autopilot and you're not necessarily absorbing that information. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. The next message that came through was enterprising. And so I really like that energy because it definitely kind of goes hand in hand with that entrepreneurial spirit. So if you're somebody who has their own business, if you're interested in starting your own business, if you've got a particularly marketable skill or something that you're trying to kind of get off the ground, that is definitely something that was being highlighted. And also the sense of being enterprising, right? So it's not just enough to be creative and to kind of take action, but it's also, being strategic, taking advantage of opportunities as they come up, right? And allowing yourself to have a variety of experiences so that you can determine what's best for you. So I kind of get the sense of like using your intuition to kind of determine what opportunities feel aligned, even if it might be a little bit scary or uncomfortable, even if it might be completely out of the norm. But, I think that's, you have to be a little bit intrepid if you're going to be entrepreneurial, right? And that can be tough sometimes. And the last message that came through was opening doors. And so that also goes really nicely hand in hand with this Treasure Island sense of prosperity and abundance being highlighted this month. So you may find that there are a lot more opportunities, and perhaps the more that you kind of focus on opportunities and what you would like to connect with and try to disconnect from anything that leaves you feeling limited or fearful, or, like you've got to kind of hold on tightly, that could be what's keeping you stuck. It could just be that making the decision to say, hey, I'm going to blaze my own trail. Sometimes just making that decision for ourselves and feeling that shift in our energy, connecting more with that excitement and inspiration, sends this like energetic wave out. And you might even find that as soon as you do that, people start coming in. Something similar happened to me this month, and it's you would never expect, right? But sometimes it just works out, and it takes us shifting our own energy or making a decision first. And then the more that we kind of take action on that, the more that is sent out into our environment, and it eventually draws the resources that we need in. But yeah, there may be a lot of opportunity for you, which is really awesome. Okay. So I'm going to get you an oracle message. Oh, I really like this. I haven't used this deck in a long time. This is the Crystal Spirits Oracle. And so the card that came up for you is Sunstone, and it's number 55. So I'm just going to read this directly from the book. So this will provide a little bit more information or clarification, maybe some additional insight to help you apply the information from this reading. So the essential meaning for Sunstone is freedom, breaking through obstacles, the power to overcome limitations, and knowing you can do it, which is, wow, that's awesome. So it's like, this is your hype card. So I'll read you from the book. It says, any of us can become so used to being restricted that when we have the potential to move beyond limitations, we stare in disbelief at the open door of the cage that has held us in captivity for far too long. Have you succumbed to the illusion of scarcity consciousness, inaccurately seeing yourself as stuck in old patterns, telling yourself that the situation is the same as it's always been when the truth has begun to shift? Sunstone Spirit's message is that the door really is open and opportunities await you as you claim your freedom. You have the power to break through barriers. The parameters of your life are not what you thought they were. So much more is available than you imagined. So believe in your freedom, spread your wings, and fly. You can do it, for Sunstone Spirit is here to strengthen your resolve and to leave that cage far behind you as you drink in the pleasure of being free and ready to live in a new way. You can choose from an array of opportunities the conscious universe has made available to you, so let go and be liberated. The conscious universe will help you to avoid pitfalls and wrong turns that will wind you back around to the same old, same old. Simply enjoy this shift. Now is your time to experience the thrill of exhilarating freedom. Relationship message says, your past and your wounds do not have to keep you stuck in old patterns. You are free to end your current relationship, start a new one, or transform the partnership to be what you want it to be. While you can never control another person or determine every event or set of circumstances you will experience, you always have the freedom of choice. This includes the freedom to stop and reconnect with the conscious universe, drawing on the loving support and wisdom that can help you make the best choices for you. There are no limits on love, no obstacles to receiving that which you hope to experience. Enjoy your freedom, knowing that you have a firm foundation in the love that the conscious universe has for you. Prosperity. You are at liberty to make any number of decisions about how to interact with the universal flow of abundance. Does that make you nervous, or are you excited? It's okay now to be a little bit of both, but be sure to embrace your freedom of choice, knowing that Sunstone Spirit is bolstering your ability to decide what you want to do. Advice from others can be helpful, but you have to listen to your heart and check in with your values before making your own decisions. You no longer have to feel bound by the old stories rooted in scarcity thinking, so believe in the universal flow of abundance and enjoy your freedom to choose how you will interact with it. You've got this. And then there's a meditation, or it touches on meditation. Working with Sunstone helps us release our old emotions, be strong, and our own leadership qualities. That's phrased really strangely. Working with Sunstone helps us release our old emotions, be strong, and own our leadership qualities, which do not arise from a place of ego, but a place of inspired leadership for the highest good of all. Sunstone teaches us to shine authentically and without fear, which is, Sunstone, it's fire. It goes hand in hand with that. So that's really awesome. You know what? I'll get you one final oracle message from this other deck here, just for fun, because that was so fitting. I can't even believe it. That's what I love about tarot, is like, you'll have a whole reading touching on these themes, and then an oracle card will come out and just kind of confirm the same thing. So your other oracle message is take a break. A life's work, not a season. Get off the treadmill. Okay, so I'll read this from the book as well. Just bear with me a moment as I find it. Okay. Take a break. A life's work, not a season. Get off the treadmill. It's okay to take a break and enjoy your creations, to take a moment from your busy schedule, to get off the treadmill of life, to appreciate and acknowledge all that you have created, achieved, released, or experienced before rushing on to the next thing, to be in the moment and enjoy where you are, to take a breath and regather your mind, body, and spirit, to recalibrate, appreciate, and celebrate, to decide on what you really want to experience next. If you take a moment, you are not going to miss out. Perhaps you have just completed a big project, manifested something significant in your life, released an old way of being, or just been burning the candle at both ends. Now is the time to take some time out before rushing on to the next thing. You did it. Enjoy yourself and recalibrate. Go on vacation, book a massage, take long walks in nature, go away for a rejuvenating weekend to recharge and replenish. So the Work Your Light action says take a break and a breath. Yeah, so that's confirming. If you have been busy, rest may be a really beneficial thing for you to do, perhaps a vacation, just kind of removing yourself from whatever may be distracting you, because it's, we don't have to be on the go all the time, and that's not necessarily sustainable. So perhaps taking a rest, taking some time for yourself is going to help you get centered, grounded, and help you kind of work through this energy of having that decision to make, identifying your relationship to abundance and material, and if there's anything that you'd like to shift, and kind of working through whatever energy you ultimately are being guided to release. Okay, I'm just going to get you a couple of affirmations that you can use or come back to this month that might be helpful, and then we'll finish everything off. So your first affirmation: by spreading loving energy, I attract more love. I share my light with the world. And finally, the moment I begin to celebrate myself and focus on my successes is the moment I begin living. Yeah. And the thing that I love about this is that it really is focusing on sharing, right? So it's like it starts with you. The good energy starts with you. Connect with that positive energy for yourself. Foster that relationship to yourself, your confidence, your happiness, your love. Allow yourself to experience that wholeheartedly, right? To fill your cup and then share that with others. So you may be in a position to connect with that kind of energy, to lead by example, right? So that might be key, right? Taking the time to let yourself feel and experience those things and share them with others, particularly if you're someone who looks for others to kind of set the tone first and foremost. And yeah, take some time to recognize all that you have accomplished, all that you have to feel proud about, all that you have to be grateful for. And the more that you can connect with and feel that energy, the more that's going to inspire you. And the more you're going to be, inspired as a result to continue moving in a direction that supports that energy. So that's really lovely for you. I'm going to leave your reading here, Pisces. I hope this was helpful and that you enjoyed. If you did enjoy this reading, the best way to support me is to like this video on YouTube, leave me a comment, let me know what you think or how it resonated. Beyond that, if there's anyone you can think of that might enjoy my readings, you can feel free to share my readings or my channel with them. And don't forget to hop on over to my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot. Make sure you are subscribed and signed up for notifications. So that's the little bell icon that will keep you up to date on new readings as they're posted. So Pisces, happy birthday again. I hope that the remainder of this month treats you well. It's been an absolute pleasure reading for you, and I'm excited to connect with you again next month. So in the meantime, I'm wishing you all the very best.